Good morning, world. Good morning, colleagues of Tbc Worldwide. My name is Solo.amahaotu, broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. This is my broadcast episode 72. Time now is 11 a.m. here in Nigeria, 11 p.m. in Fiji. No matter wherever you are, I greet you. You're welcome to my broadcast. Before I continue with my topic for today, it's my usual practice to remind all of us that we are in the distribution phase of our journey towards freedom, towards eradication of poverty and creation of abundance. And that journey means that we should get to the point where we are 1 billion verifiable members that have paid their admin fees, and there are that are real Tbcians working hard and seeing to the progress of the community. At the stage where we are now, admin has told us that it is imperative that we reach the critical mass on that S drawing or S graphics. That's the turning point from accumulation to the area where our membership will be exponentially increasing every day. So, and to get at that critical mass, we need to be at least 100,000 members viewing the same button meeting every week in at least 20 different languages. As of now, we have not more than 6 different languages hosting the same button meetings. The English, the French, the Hindi, the Boli, and all that. Admin wants us to have at least 20 languages broadcasting to the world every week, so that every part of the world will be aware of the existence of Tbc, and a lot of people will be getting invitation left, right, and center, and they will be joining, so that within a short time we get to our 1 billion membership target, which will open up our private economy, and we begin to use our peer-to-peer exchange, clinical Tbc, to transact our businesses, our commercial and private businesses. And we should not forget that we are a private organization. Our currency is purely private. It's not for public use. It's to be used between ourselves, pair to pair. Let me go to the blog now. So at the blog you will see there's even a graphic that admin just posted that really shows what our currency is all about. Let me go to that graphics. Look at it, Kringles are a peer-to-peer private medium of exchange. It showed a graphic here. Let's go to it. Let's look at it briefly. So you can see Kringles are a peer-to-peer private medium of exchange. So you can see two hands, all members of the TBC, shaking hands and transacting their business, goods and services, exchanging through our Kringle Cash. You have to be one of the billion members to be able to transact this business. Hence, it is necessary that from all parts of the world, everywhere, people should be members of TBC in different professions, commercials, businessmen, name it, everybody should be here. And through that means we should be able to exchange goods and services through TBC. Now let me go. There is admin has announced that there's the same button has been extended. Yeah, here it is. November redemption period will be extended until January 31st, 2019 for those qualified. So it's necessary to know those who are qualified. Let's go and look at that post. November redemption period will be extended until January 31st, 2019 for those qualified. So who are those qualified? That is the question we have to answer. Before this was done, there was a poll where people were asked to vote for how long they want the November redemption period to last. To what time? By popular demand, the November redemption period has been extended until 31st January 2019. You can see here how the voting went. In third place were people who said December 2018. And the votes were 3,440 votes. The second place was for those who wanted it to end in November 30th, 2018. Their vote was 5,208. And those who came first were those who voted for 31st January 2019. and their vote was 8,432. Admin has to write something about this because he saw that there are some how do I say it, not mislead. There are some people that are disadvantaged by this extension and all that. So let's look at it. Admin would like to thank the members that participated in the poll about extending the November redemption period. The poll question was, which date will result in greater community growth to close the November redemption period? That's the question. The question was not extending the cookie rewards, but which date will result in greater community growth to close the November redemption period. So the redemption period, or the redemption in general, or the cookie rewards in particular, were made to encourage people for our community to grow, to encourage people, to recruit people, to bring in more members, verifiable members, so that we should be up to 1 billion in a very short time. That is the target. That is the aim. So the voting was for that purpose. So the large part of the TBC community answered that a January 31st ending of the November redemption period would result in greater community growth. I mostly agree with the poll results, but as you can see, the second place polled said it would be best to end on November 30th, 2018. And I understand why these members think it should end then. Only during a redemption period can people all around the world become instant TBC millionaires. Everyone wants to become a millionaire, and we provide a solid path ahead to make that happen. Outside of a redemption period, members only get cookies which are not spendable or transferable. Yet, the time in between redemption periods allows us as a community the time to educate our new members properly before they have access to an abundance of coins that are spendable. The education is priceless. Without the education, those chaos develops due to misunderstanding and ignorance. The main problem with extending is that some new members don't understand the value of completing a transaction with their sponsor. Without members going out there sponsoring new members, TBC doesn't grow. See the problem. You see the problem? My dear brothers and sisters, Admin has explained it here, that it is during the redemption period that people acquire spendable or exchangeable crinkles. But, and because a lot of people want to become millionaires, and during that redemption period, it's easily possible to get enough crinkles or coins to become a millionaire. But the time between redemption periods, that is, if the redemption period ends, for example, end of this month, November, between now and May, when the other redemption period will come up, it gives the sponsors enough time to educate and train their recruits, their downline, their referrals on how TBC functions. And that education is priceless. It's very, very important, because without that education, there will be chaos. People will not understand. People will begin to do a lot of things. New members will think they are there to cash out and do other type of rubbish. But with the education, they will learn exactly how TBC functions. They will follow the system. They will align themselves. They will learn how to do cash flow. And then they will have done transaction with their sponsors. But during this redemption period, when everybody gets the crinkles, there's virtually very less transactions, because people acquire the crinkles, the usable means of exchange, which is our crinkle or coins. So they don't need to do transactions with their sponsors, and they don't learn enough to work in the TBC community. I continue. I need to balance the feeling of the new members with the thinking of the old. I am not referring to senior citizens. Yeah, old does not mean senior citizens, but old members of the TBC. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to run a special holiday promotion during this same 2 months extension period that requires a minimum transaction by the new members coming in to assess the extension. So this is a very important information here, important caveat that admin is putting in. It's going to run a special promo now for the new members. And you have to go through that promo if you are a new member who want that extension till 31st of January 2019. So you are not automatically qualified to move into that group if you have not done any transaction and you're a new member. So members, new members, please take note. Take very good note of what admin is saying here. In other words, no transaction equals no extension. So new members, take note. If you do not do any transaction with your sponsors within that time, you cannot get into that extension. Sponsors need to be compensated to keep the balance and ensure ongoing community growth. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know it is the sponsors, it is the old members who are bringing in these new members. And they need to be compensated for their hard work. Admin is a very good judge. He balances everything. He doesn't want anybody to be cheated or anybody to be misused. That is why we are going away from the powers that be, the elites, who misuse us and enslave us. He doesn't want anybody to misuse any other person. So for the compensation of the sponsors who make the community to grow, there must be some compensations. There must be compensations, and that means transactions. The new members must have some transactions with the old members for you to qualify to get into that extension of the redemption period of 31st January 2019. I have everyone, I hope everyone can appreciate what I am doing here. Yes, we all appreciate it. I'm also an old member, but it is a right thing to do. You can't just extend the whole period for the new members. They're getting the new coins and then they abandon their sponsors who have been working very hard for the growth of the community. Generally, we are inviting 4 billion working class to join us in the TBC community. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, in the world we have 7.5 billion human beings. Out of that 7.5 billion, 4 billion of them are the working class. These are the people, the downtrodden. These are the people who work for nothing, and the elite takes everything and puts it in their pocket. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the people TBC is targeting. These are the people we are inviting to join us in TBC. So, admin has a lot of consideration for this group of people. So when you closely examine this group, it is alarming that about 50% of them earn less than 4 grams of gold, equivalent of gold, in a day of work. Yes, 4 grams of gold in a day value. It's more than what a Nigerian worker gets in a month, in a day, yes. How many of them? Many cannot get that, because in a day, a Nigerian worker, or in a month, a Nigerian worker does not earn up to, let's say, 200 grams of gold, the equivalent of a naira, which is the local currency. So admin is saying that if you watch these 4 billion people, most of them don't earn up to 4 grams of gold equivalent in a day in their work. That is really poverty. That's what the admin is saying. We are on a mission to end poverty globally, and we must take this fact into account. We must always take into account that 4 billion of fellow slaves in this world taken over by the elites are people who don't earn up to 4 grams of gold equivalent in a day. So admin says that is real poverty, and we must always consider them in our journey towards eradication poverty globally. Asking people that only make 4 grams of gold, 4 grains of gold a day, to come up with 40 grains can seem impossible to some of these people, these poor people. Yes, that's one of the problems I am suffering here in my own community. Most of the people I have are in this group, and 40 grams of gold in our local fiat currency is around 40,000 naira. And these people earn only 10 to 18, call it 20,000 naira in a month, which is 20 grains of gold equivalent in a month. So when you ask them to come up with equivalent of 40 grams of gold for their transaction with their sponsors, It's practically impossible with them because they can really not afford it. So admin is saying to some of these poor people, so this holiday promotion will be a tariff system that allows members to collect cookies for doing transactions as small as 4 grains. You see, admin has now reduced the amount you can use in transaction. Before it was 40 grains, but admin has now reduced it to even 4 grains so that you get cookies for doing transaction of 4 grains. You are now allowed to do a transaction of 4 grains of gold. A 4 grain of gold transaction will be the minimum required in order to redeem cookies during the extended redemption period. So the new members, especially those of them that are really very poor, that want to redeem their cookies 31st January 2019, that is accumulating cookies and pushing it towards the end and getting it, they can only do that now when they do a transaction of a minimum of 4 grains. Admin is really a very humane human being. It's a God-sent human being whose really aim is to really help his fellow human beings. Look at him, he has reduced it from 40 grams to 4 grams, that you do a minimum of 4 grams transaction. So the gate is open now for our 4 billion poor members of the world who earn less than 4 grams a day in their daily toil. A 4 grams transaction will be the minimum required in order to redeem cookies during the extended redemption period. If you have already done a transaction of 4 grains of gold or higher, then you don't have to do another transaction in order to redeem cookies during this extension. Ladies and gentlemen, you remember you acquire cookies now. If you are a new member, if you attend same button meeting, if you are a broadcaster, and if you recruit other new members as you come in. So for you to be able to continue doing that job and helping the growth of our community, and you redeem your cookies towards the 31st of January, you have to do a minimum transaction with your sponsor of 4 grains of gold. Admin is saying if you have done that already, then you don't need to bother. If you have done it once, you don't need to bother. You can continue with accumulating your cookies and redeem it towards the end of January 2019. But if you have not, then you have to do that transaction. You have to do that transaction now, or you will not be allowed to get into that period of extension of 31st January 2019. Also, I am not referring to the admin fee of 4 grains. That is separate and also required in order to have a send button. Naturally, the admin fee of 4 grains of gold is not under discussion here at all. But for you to be able to begin to acquire cookies and all that, you must have a send button turned on. And to get your send button turned on, you must have paid the admin fee of 4 grains. So that is not under discussion here, so don't mix it up. what is being discussed here is getting other cookies from attending same-party meeting, recruiting new members, broadcasting, and all that. So if you're a new member, you take note. The tiers will be 4 grains, 8 grains, 12 grains, 16 grains, 20 grains, 24 grains, 28 grains, 32 grains, 36 grains, and 40 grains. That is, he has split it into these small units so that anyone that you can afford, you do that, but the minimum is 4 grains. You can see it. You can go from 4 grains to 36 and 40 grains in intervals. You will learn more about this holiday promotion before December 1st, 2018, here in the blog. So he's still going to make a lot of blog postings in order to give more clarity to this situation. But it is abundantly, it's perfectly clear here now that if you are a new member and you want to enjoy that extension to 31st of January for the redemption, because you are now taking part, you have paid the admin fee, your same button and critical back office has been opened, and you can now take part in same button meeting. You can now broadcast when you get 1 million cookies. You attend same button meeting and get 1 million cookies. You can do all this, but the fiat, the law or the rule that admin has made now, because the old members who are the recruiters, who are the ones growing the community, are complaining that with the extension of this redemption period, the new members are no more interested in transactions. Naturally, they will not be, because immediately they pay their $10, I mean the 4 grains of gold admin fee, they get their send button turned on, and that gives them the authority immediately to begin to broadcast, begin to say attend send button meeting, and begin to accumulate cookies, which they can immediately convert to crinkles or coins and become millionaires, and they don't need their sponsors anymore. And then the sponsors are left to the cold. They've worked for nothing and they're not compensated. Admin does not want that, because these are the people who are the backbones of TBC. They are the people who have been working for TBC and ensuring the coming in of all these new members. So they must be compensated and they must keep body and soul together. That is where the cash flow comes in, because when they do this and begin to transact with their new entrants, their recruits, that is the cash flow, which TBC Randy is teaching all of us. You begin to cash flow and you begin to have a fiat currency you can use for your day-to-day running until our own currency becomes fluid and liquid. So it is essential that we understand what admin has said and know that it is essential. If you are a new member, you must have done you must do at least 1 transaction. He has now split it into pieces so that those who can really not afford the 40 grains equivalent of our crinkles should now have the opportunity to at least do a transaction of 4 grains of gold, equivalent of our crinkles transaction with their sponsors. I will now even recommend this to my own downline, to my own recruits, and then push them now quickly to begin to join the new system and be able to get into the 31st January 2019 transaction. So it is very, very important that this is done. I would, all the old members, all the sponsors, you now have the opportunity to encourage your members to quickly really become full-fledged members of TBC community by doing their transactions and cash flowing. Thank you very much. I see you again tomorrow. God bless you.